This event enables us to collect and share stories. It engages new museum visitors, and it does certainly expand our reach across our country. First time I met Ralph was at one of our very first events in Toronto in 2004. I didn't know him. We had a lot of very exciting people in the room, and at the end, this man came up to me and he said, "We can't leave before we sing O Canada." So Ralph got up on the stage and led us all in the singing of O Canada, and from then on, he's with us 100%. So that's not yesterday that happened. Thank you, Ralph.
Ralph is an exemplary story of Canadian immigration, which began in 1957. An immigration volunteer noticed a single mother with her three children. So he approached and politely addressed them. He explained how they were all to be on a train for the next 2 days and the next 2 nights, and will need food. He gave them money and showed them where they could purchase some. This generous act would have a ripple effect through the rest of Ralph's life. His family first settled in Niagara Falls, which Ralph quickly found odd jobs to help his mother financially. But with a boyhood dream of fixing cars, he eventually became a licensed mechanic. This is ironic, coming from a family who never owned a car back in Italy. Perhaps it was an arm's-reach fascination with these machines that piqued his interest. This path led Ralph to purchasing his first gas station at the age of 22. For the years that followed, hard work, business savvy, and family support propelled Ralph on a road to success. After purchasing 6 more gas stations, he founded Active Tire and Auto Centers. He eventually purchased the Green Ross auto service chain, becoming Active Green and Ross. Today, there are 70 locations here in Ontario. Always remembering the first feeling of welcome and generosity as a new immigrant, Ralph enjoys pursuing ways to be charitable. One of those ways is to give back to Pier 21, a location that conjures up many positive memories for Ralph and his family. He and his wife graciously support the Immigration Museum by funding the Ralph and Rose Chiodo Gallery. The Chiodo family's philanthropy has allowed the museum to continue its mission of paying tribute to the Canadian immigration story. And this story is inspiring. One of a prosperous businessman, a generous giver, a strong family man, and a great gentleman. Please join me in welcoming Ralph Chiodo.
One of the things that I often tell people when I talk about Pier 21 is that Pier 21 is for Canada what Ellis Island is for the Americans. So it's not necessarily everyone knows about Pier 21, and I've heard here today that some of you haven't been there yet, and I urge you, invite you, encourage you to visit Pier 21. And when you do, just let the staff there know that I sent you. This way they know how to get a couple extra bucks from you. Thank you all again. Thanks to Sherry, who muscled me up and convinced me and told me that we were doing this today. Thank you, Sherry. I really appreciate it. So my story here is a repetition of what just happened. So I'll tell it to you, and I wrote it in such a big letters that I don't even need to wear my glasses. I was born in Calabria, the best place in Italy. We have the Honorable Julian Frontino here, who was born at the extreme opposite end. And it was the distance between his town and my town was a half an hour by phone. And we actually drove between the two places on more than one occasion. So I was born in a little town in Sovria Manelli, Catanzaro, and it's a town up in the hills. a town so far up that if you can just imagine, not only there was no cars there was only one telephone in the entire town. And whenever you had to make a call, you would go to the telephone guy, you begged him for him to give you a time, and then you went back and made the call. Just I couldn't tell, a couple of my granddaughters are here today, I couldn't tell others that we didn't have phones those days, because now everybody's got at least 3 of them. So at the age of 12, my grandfather Emilio, my mother's father, got me enrolled in a blacksmith shop. I worked in the blacksmith shop until I came to Canada. When we arrived in Canada on the 27th day of March at Pier 21 with the Queen Federica ship. You probably saw some pictures on the video. It was a huge ship. So we got off the ship. I had no idea how long it would be or how do we get to Toronto. We knew we had to get on the train, and it was a 2-day and 2-night trip for Toronto, and then on for Niagara Falls. When we got off the ship, this man came and said hello to my mother and told my mother that on the ship, that on the train to Toronto, there was no food, and showed us a little kiosk, a little store within Pier 21 where they had food. And he said to my mother, go in there, get some bread, the sliced Canadian white bread, and get some meat, spam, corned beef, we used to call it in those days, and give my mother the money to pay for it. I have never forgotten that moment, and every time I think about it, I get goosebumps. And as a result of that, it has given me the opportunity, the courage, the enthusiasm to do things for others here in our great city and our great country. We finally arrived in Toronto after the 2-day ride, and at the train station, a Union Station, was my Uncle Pasquale, who had been waiting there for us for 2 days. Again, there was no way to communicate, so Uncle Pasquale was there. Zia Rita had been there, but then she went back because she had 2 young children. She went back, so with Zio Pasquale, we got onto another train and went on to Niagara Falls. At Niagara Falls, we found my Uncle Valentino, who's here now. Valentino, say hi. Just wave. Where are you? Because I have more to say about Valentino later. So, Uncle Valentino and Zio Girolamo, Uncle Jerry. And of course, Zio Rita and Zio Pasquale. And just to show you how tough those days were, we lived in Zio Rita's house, Zio Pasquale's house, a tiny 2-bedroom house, and she was there with her husband and 2 sons, plus Zio Valentino, plus 4 of us. So there was 9 of us in a 2-bedroom home. Okay, that's how things were in those days. Anyway, so Valentino was working in a bowling alley, and the next day he brought me to a bowling alley to set up pins. So I was setting up pins at the Rainbow Bowl on Queen Street in Niagara Falls. Because I was only 14 when I arrived, the following fall, I had to go to school. It was the law that until you were 16, you had to go to school. So I enrolled at St. Mary's School in Niagara Falls, and I was in grade 6, and I was able to convince the principal to allow me to only go to school half a day, so that in the afternoon I could go and work in the bowling alley and set pins. Because in those days, we didn't have the welfare. We didn't have the governments that handed out all of that money to immigrants. You either earned it or you didn't eat. So I was able to just work half a day and to go to school half a day and go to the bowling alley and set pins in the afternoon. Then my uncle Valentino, who was working with the Canadian Railway in Niagara Falls at that time, got a job with CN here in Toronto, in Mimico. So he moved to Mimico, and I tagged along with my Uncle Valentino. And he and I and another older senior person were living in a rented room, 3 of us. This other person's name was Fred, and through one of the nights, Fred passed away. Just to give you an indication how we lived, we were, we didn't have too much luxury in those days. I got a job at a grinding wheel factory, which was directly across the road from where we were living, and at the same time, took a correspondence auto mechanic course. There was a company called Chicago Vocational where I paid to take on this correspondence course, and during the day I would be working at the grinding wheel factory, and at night I would be studying or going to this school. After I finished my correspondence course, I got a job at a BA station. Some of you may remember BA. At a BA station at the corner of Mimico Avenue and Lakeshore. The same owner owned a BA station at Park Lawn in the Queensway, so it was a much bigger station, and I asked him if I could work there. So he moved me there and asked him if I could be an apprentice. So Ron McIsaac said, Ralph, it's not up to me. It's up to the Ministry of Labor. I said, well, can I tell them it's okay with you? He says, yeah, but they have to decide. So when the inspector from the Ministry of Labor came, I said, Ron McIsaac said it's okay for you to sign me up as an apprentice. And he said, okay, he says, but you need grade 10 education. And I said, I have it. He said, from where? Huron Street High in Niagara Falls. This was a high school that I used to walk by morning and night. So he says, I'll need a certificate. I said, I'll get you one, but please sign me up so I don't lose this time. Long story short, he signed me up. I became a mechanic. And through my good friends at BP, I ended up with a BP station at 186 the Queensway. I ended up at the service station and started working. I had my mechanic's license. And luck will have it that labor inspector comes in to see me one day. And I showed him my license, and he was really pleased and congratulated me. And I said, I have a confession. He says, I knew you didn't have grade 10. I wanted to give you a break. But my ace in the hole, my insurance card was that there was an organization in Toronto called COSTI. And COSTI is at 100 Lippincott, which is Beth Thurston College. And COSTI provided night school to tradesmen from all over the world who could upgrade their English so that they could work in the trade. And the folks from Coastal are here today. Michael, welcome. So, if I had problems in enrolling in the apprenticeship, I was planning to go to Coastal and get my grade 10 education. Fortunate for me, I didn't have to do that. Coastal was there as my insurance. Now, some of you may drive by that location at 100 Lippincott, and on the building it says, Ralph Chiodo Family Immigration Reception Center. So that building at Coastal now is named after our family, and it was a real pleasure for me and our family, my family, to devote some money to sponsor that. So I opened up my first business on October 15th, 1966. As I said earlier, it was a BP station. And for me, it was great because my friends who continue today to still be my friend, unfortunately it's not very well, Ed Tovey and George Mellon, helped me a lot. And Ed Tovey eventually then introduced me to Chrysler. Introduced me to Chrysler to become an auto par distributor. Auto par was the parts brand at Chrysler, like GM has one, Ford has one, but the one for Chrysler was auto par. So I was introduced to Chrysler, and for a time we were an auto par distributor. But my dream was always to have a car dealership. And on the 4th of July, 1980, that was the time that Chrysler was to be bankrupt, I became a Chrysler dealer in the west end of Toronto in Long Branch, and that's where the word Active came from. We created Active Motors. It was a Chrysler dealership. We continue to be a Chrysler dealership. Today it's known as Pier Chrysler, and our dealership is now managed by Rita's husband, Denny Diamantakos. I call him Denny the Greek. Denny Diamantakos, and Pier Chrysler today is the #1 Chrysler Jeep Fiat dealer in this great country of ours, Canada. Excuse me. We've been blessed to have had so many good relationships. The bank that we currently deal with is CIBC. And CIBC, who are also here as a major sponsor today, thank you very much. We have been banking with CIBC since day one. And it didn't matter what we needed money for, they never said no. And that is so appreciated, and I'm blessed, and I thank you very much to CIBC for what you've done for my family and I. In 1969, I married Rose Vespa. That's another story. It's a little bit too long to talk about. That's her mother, father, and everybody else had her lined up to be married to somebody else, but we're not going to talk about that today.
Come on, I want to hear it.
Rose and I were blessed with 4 children: Andy, Tony, Rita, and Sabrina. Andy arrived on the 3rd day of March, in 1970. Now, we were married on the 7th day of June, and India arrived on the 3rd day of March. I don't know how that happened. Andy has 2 daughters. Rita has 2 daughters. Sabrina has 4. The oldest one today is 6, and the 2 twins have just had their 2nd birthday, so you can see. Tony married Patricia, and they have Raffaele Chiodo. In 1983, I decided to get into the tire business. And that's when we created Active Tire and Auto Center. Shortly thereafter, we purchased a company who had been in business for over 100 years called Green and Ross. They had 11 stores and merged them. We also purchased 28 Speedy Muffler locations and 11 Sears locations, and ended up with a total of 70 stores. Our business is a franchise business, and we have been honored. I have been honored with the Canadian Franchise Association Lifetime Achievement Award for Excellence in Franchising. So that was a great honor, and I really appreciated that. So we've been in business for 50 years, and our business is a simple one. We fix cars, replace worn-out tires. Our franchisees associates service about 1,000 cars a day. The management team that helps through all of this, starting with Rosa's sister, Mary Vespa, who's here. Mary, say hello. If you folks send me an email, I tell you how I got onto the email. People would send me an email, Mary would print it and fax it to me. The biggest problem I had with the whiteout on the screen. My entire screen became white. I didn't know you couldn't correct it on the screen. The management team of Active, led by Greg Lawrence. Greg, just wave. Greg Lawrence and his team. And Ray and Dave Rosario run our computer company, because believe it or not, we own a computer company. And the computer company takes care of the management's software for the Active Green and Raw stores, plus about 1,500 others throughout North America. So the great people. And I tell people that the business that we're in, we will be the 3rd last business to survive. So everybody wants to know, who are they? I said, well, we're the 3rd last. 2nd last is the pharmaceuticals, because you won't give up your medication. And the last is the grocery store. So I tell everybody that the 3rd last thing that each and every one of us will give up is our car. So, and that's what we do. We fix them. Benny sells them at Peel Chrysler, but we fix them at all the other stores. We're also blessed to be kept out of troubles with the legal team. Our legal team, who is who provides us with the best advice. If any one of you thinks about suing us, you better think about it twice. Because we have Orlando Rose and the team at the Wishart Partners. Wishart Partners are not far away, just in Sault Marie. But Orlando Rose and his team has been taking care of us since 1989. Do I have it correct, Orlando? Yeah, 1989. We're also in the construction business. And our construction business is mostly for our own locations. Currently, we have a couple huge developments underway. One of them, which is at our head office at 580 Evans Avenue and 24 East Mall, etc. We have 12 acres there, and we're about to build about 1,000 condominiums, townhouses, apartments, and a seniors home, a seniors care home, like, Villa Leonardo Gambin, Villa Colombo, those. So we will be building one of those on our property on Evans Avenue, and we're donating it to a great organization to run it. So we're doing that. I do a lot of community work. I'm involved with several organizations. I also am really pleased to let you know that many of you are aware, because you supported us. I supported the University of Toronto Ear, Nose, and Throat Department that is led by our good friend, Dr. Albino Chiodo, who's here, Dottore. And we raise funds to help people in need in that area. I am on the board of Pier 21, I think I mentioned that earlier, and I, from time to time, go down to Halifax and participate in meetings. I am involved in our local church organization, Holy Angels Church, and I'm together with my good friend Joe Falcone and others. We organize several other festas at Holy Angels. I'm also pleased to inform that we participate and help create the Galleria Italia at the AGO in Toronto. You remember that there was 12, 15 families that donated a bunch of money, and we created Galleria Italia. So we were a part of that organization, and now the Galleria is open to the community. I participate in community events and give back. And I find that every time I give $1 back, 100 comes back to me. So I'm really, really pleased. As usual, my family, friends, colleagues get involved with my ventures and work. We work hard and have fun. I could not have accomplished this without the help of my family, especially my wife, Rose. What can I say about Rose? She supports every single crazy idea, while at the same time tries to keep me in line, which is easier said than done. Thank you, Rose. Over the years, I have enjoyed my associations with CIBPA and many other organizations. I said CIBPA fast. Some of them say it CIBA, but I don't like CIBA. I like it. Canadian Italian Business and Professional Men Association. I am a recipient of the Queen Golden Jubilee Medal and the Queen Diamond Jubilee Medal. I was awarded the Community Living Mississauga Tribute Awards for outstanding community contribution to the community, And I am also in receipt of the title of Commendatore from the country from Italy. So that one was very well received. Thank you. Thank you to the Oil Mill for hosting us here today. The Oil Mill is where I come every Wednesday, or where I came most Wednesdays for the past 25 years with my Rotary Club of Etobicoke. Our Rotary Club of Etobicoke meets in this hotel on Wednesdays at lunchtime. Recently they've changed it. It's not every Wednesday, but for the past 25 years we been meeting here. I'm involved with two other Rotary clubs in Italy. There are twin clubs to our Rotary Club here in Toronto. Thank you very much to all of you for being here today, and hopefully you and your families have a successful 2018. Grazie. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph, my very dear friend for many years, and a remarkable journey you've had. I'd like to ask someone to come to the stage right now who actually does need no introduction to everyone in the audience to say a few words. The Honorable Julian Fantino.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. My wife was asking me, Viviana was asking me about, what are you going to say about Ralph? Do you have a speech? I said, no, he'll have given it. But seriously, there's a couple of contextual issues that I wanted to raise about Ralph as well. We all know about the wonderful family that has helped him over these many years as friends. A road well traveled, coming to Canada as he has, and my wife and I have had the good fortune to be friends with the Chiodo family. I've visited the home turf, if you will, realizing full well the hardships from which Ralph came as an orphan, visited the orphanage where he spent a few years, and learned a great deal about what it is that really is the man that he is today. His inner self, his sense of value, his sense of discipline about taking things in stride and not letting things get to the point of exaggeration, always moderate, and very, very astute at making sure that he recognizes where he's come from. And as much as we have to certainly applaud him and his family and all the people that have helped him along this path, I always look at these stories and these experiences as something more. It is about the individual, absolutely. The work ethic, the values, the kind of commitment, dedication, even the survival skills in difficult environments. But at the end of the day, it also points out to another dynamic, and that is the dynamic of Canada. How people can come to this country, as he has, I and others, many of us, with basically nothing but hope, aspiration, a few friends, and those along the way who, as Ralph pointed out, that still probably unknown individual that approached him and his mother and siblings and offered a helping hand. We all have those stories, but they're profound stories of character and what this country is really all about. And I often say that whatever success, however it's measured, of any of us who are immigrants to this country, it's probably more a testimonial about the country than it is of ourselves, because it has been Canada that has given us that opportunity, as Ralph so many times has recognized and given back in his family, that in fact is the testimonial that I think Ralph, in his comments and his expressions of experience, and as I mentioned earlier, road well traveled, it really speaks about the man, but it speaks about what the man has done in this country, and it speaks about how he has put back. I can enumerate for you more things where all you have to do for a worthy cause, someone in need, and an opportunity to lend a helping hand. Ralph and his family have always been there. Sure, you can go to Pier 21 and you can see how their fingerprints are there, certainly. But Pier 21 in itself is a testimonial to what, in fact, Ralph and others have appreciated about this country. And I'm so honored, Ralph, that you were able to get on the board, working with great people at Pier 21. And for those of us that have come through there, I could tell you a story about experiences going back to that place. But I think every time I go there, and I know that Ralph and others, it's an emotional time, because no one that came there took their passage into Canada, the Canada of today, for granted. So Ralph, thank you and your family for having the courage to take on so many causes, so many challenges, be it in business, altruistic, the generosity and the good works that you've done and continue to do, that have helped so many people get a leg up on life and the experience of being Canadians. Thank you so much, and God bless.
My name's Marie Chapman, and I'm the CEO at the Canadian Museum of Immigration at Pier 21. So first to Julian, thank you. Please do ask Julian, not about the first time he came to Pier 21, but about the second time before we were opened. Because the man was in law enforcement, but I'm really happy to say that he can open the doors now without breaking in. But you might want to ask him about that second time he came to Pier 21. He broke in. He broke in, off duty. So Ralph, your amazing story, thank you for sharing it with all of us today. Every time I listen to you, I learn something new, and I have a deeper appreciation, not just for you, but for Rose and Andy and Tony and Rita and Sabrina and those 9 gorgeous grandchildren and those lucky, wonderful partners. So thank you for that. And thank you for sharing today of your time and your heart. It's deeply appreciated. And I want to thank our sponsors, because as Ralph knows, those donations are the things that do make the difference at the museum and at every other endeavor you all sponsor. And I know you get asked many times every day to support a cause. And so I'm grateful that you chose to support this one today. It means a lot. And I hope you all come to Halifax. For those of you who live or have lived there, really you should wait till June. Really, June. June is the beginning of when you should. Oh, and Michael McGee, who lived here, says July. So there's, come in July. Come in July, please do. I have 2 more very important things to do, and one of them is to announce that we have a new exhibit starting on March 10th called Refuge Canada in the Ralph and Rose Chiodo Gallery. And Ralph and Rose and the family are actually sponsoring the exhibition as well. It's called Refuge Canada, and they're sponsoring the exhibit, and Ralph and the family will be down in April to inaugurate that exhibit as well. So it's more Chiodo, more loving Ralph and Rose in our space. So thank you for that, Ralph and Rose. And Andy and Tony and Rita and Sabrina. Thank you. Grazie. Mille grazie. And the last thing.
That was you to do that or buy more purses?
Or my purses, yes. We're grateful for this. You could do both. You could do both. So the last thing, and it gets back to the beginning of when we all first met Ralph, and I'm really excited that there's a piece of the Blue Jays organization here, because my family, like many Maritimers, spend Florida as their home away from home in the winter, and my family, being baseball people, do not go to Dunedin, but we're in Port Charlotte, and they are Rays people in terms of where they live, but they buy the whole season tickets, and we go down, and when the Rays are playing Detroit, they play the Star Spangled Banner, and nobody sings. And when the Rays host the Jays and they play O Canada First, every Canadian in that crowd stands up and sings every single word, and it forces the Americans in the crowd to sing the Star Spangled Banner. And my son, when he was about this big, saw that and thought it was cool, and he was like, "Hey, Mom, just like Ralph." Because my son, Will, who's 17, heard the story of this amazing man who has heart to sing "O Canada." Not necessarily talent, but heart to sing "O Canada." And Ralph, being such a baseball fan, every time I hear it down there, I just think of him. And so we're not allowed to leave without it.